Welcome back, everybody. I'm sorry I haven't streamed for the last couple of days. After having my Fallout 4 character sort of once again become unplayable, and realizing I had to make the character again from scratch, just kind of got burned out from Fallout 4. You can only remake the same character and do the same opening stuff so many times in a row when you need to take a break. So I guess it's lucky that this game came out. Now, during those interim days, what I was doing as I was actually playing the game, as you can see there, I'm level 25, but I wasn't recording it, mainly because I wanted to get a feel for all the nuances of the card game itself, and I didn't want to be giving you guys, like, information that would be changing by the match. But I realized last night that I really could have been broadcasting it, I could have been showing it to you guys, because, you know, you guys love learning, because just like with the mod making videos and all the other making of videos I do, you guys do enjoy the making of and the learning experience stuff. So I apologize for that. And I wasn't even going to, and then I got hit with a really nasty stomach flu, something I ate last night. I don't know whether it was bad or whether my body just didn't like the spicy food that much. Disagree with me, and so I spent literally all of today in bed, and in fact I'm still not feeling 100%, so I might not be able to broadcast for the entire hour. We'll see. But I felt like I owed you guys something, because I haven't broadcast in a couple of days, and you are my lovely fans. So, first step, I'm going to show you my collection of cards and sort of explain the various keywords. The keywords are these things like breakthrough, charge, silence. Well, silence probably isn't a keyword. Prophecy. It depends. All the ones in bold are technically keywords, but some are not really useful keywords. Now, what I'm going to show you here is a couple of things. There are a few keywords that, well, technically keywords. You see, there are certain cards that actually will allow you to copy keywords onto other cards, which can make them really powerful decks if you can get the right combo. But there are a few, like Initiative First Scene. There are a few cards like this, where, as you can see, there's no bold text here. When she attacks and destroys a creature, you may attack again this turn. There is a few like that. Let's see. The Fiery Imp, when it deals 2 damage to your opponent, Fiery Imp deals 2 damage to your opponent, yada yada yada. Go over to this deck, and is there a way I can actually just go to no deck? This can work. This is my sort of junk deck I use for when I want to look at different cards. Try doing this. So this shows you actually all cards, even the ones you don't have. This is the one I'm thinking of. The Snowy Sabercat can attack an additional time each turn. So now it doesn't have charge, which I'll explain in a bit. So this means it still takes a turn for it to become active, and of course it can be destroyed by action cards. But if you get this card out onto the field and say get enough buffs onto it, I was actually defeated in one game. A person did about 33 points of damage with just this one card. They got it onto the field, buffed it so its base attack was 11, and then used this card on it, Swift Strike, which gives creature an extra attack. So I got attacked 3 times by this card for 11 damage each. That was 33 damage in a single move. That was devastating. But as you can see here, there's no bold in it, so you can't actually copy this keyword onto any other cards. Pilfer, again, is one. I'm not sure whether or not Pilfer can actually be copied over. Because like I said, as I'm implying, there are cards that allow you to copy keywords onto other cards. But Pilfer, I don't think you can copy on other cards because Pilfer's always different. Here's another one that's Cover is definitely, oh, well, I think Cover is one. But let me see here. Here we go, Pilfer. Look at all the different Pilfer effects. And the ones that are actually in color are obviously ones that I actually have. So Pilfer. Pilfer is when you deal direct damage to your opponent. So with this one, for example, when you deal direct damage to your opponent, this card gains +1/+1. And this is ongoing. Every time you deal direct damage to your opponent, +1/+1, +1/+1, +1/+1. You can get very powerful real quick. Goblin Striker Sulk here is a little bit different. When you Pilfer, you draw a random card from your deck that costs 0. There are several good cards that cost 0. You can see right here I have a few up here in my deck. This one is +3/+0, which is very similar to the Cut Purse. This one is a really nice card. Some of these cards, you can tell by the actual colors here whether they're legendary. So cards can actually, so like you can have a card that seems super powerful and more powerful than its others because it's basically a higher, it's an upgraded version of a previous card. So it keeps the same cost and just becomes more powerful. So like for example, this one's Pilfer is, you see it's purple, so it's a very high level card. Let's see. See there. Common rarity. Daring Cut Purse is common. Rare, blue ones, is the Goblin Skulk. And legendaries, I believe you can only have one of. I'm not sure if you can have multiples of epics. It'll actually tell you if you mouse over it. Nope. It'll actually say if it's unique. And you can only have one of them. Strangely enough, none of these seem to mention it. So I may be wrong in it actually telling you, but I've seen it before, like on Gold Brand it says unique, you can only have one of these. Okay, let me show you. See here, limit, 1 per deck. And now the Pilfer cards don't want to show up. Of course not. Oh, here they are. Just showing up at the end for some reason. So you can see this one is legendary. So this is a high level card, maximum rarity, and it actually upgrades from a similar Khajiit card that just as like Pilfer 1/1 or something like that. Prophecy is every time you take 5 damage, and this doesn't come back when you heal that damage. There's several cards that'll heal you, but every time you take 5 damage, you lose a rune. You have 5 runes. You have in versus matches you have 30 health. So that's, you know, your last rune is when you drop down to 5 health. If you heal yourself up, you don't heal up the runes. So it's only 5 runes. It's only 5 prophecies you'll ever get, even if you're doing a lot of healing. Which, if you're like having like a Pilfer or Drain deck, and someone has like a healing deck, you could go on forever. So, like for example, this one now Drain does what the name implies. The amount of damage that's inflicted is then added to your health. So this one, if you hit someone with this, you get 4 health, and then it gets +4. That means the next attack will drain 8, and the next attack will drain 12, and so on. You get the idea. Charge is very useful. In fact, I didn't know there was a charge with Pilfer. If I right-click on it, it can tell me how much it would cost to soul summon them. That is to add it to my deck to create the card, or how much I'll get when I basically disenchant the card. But charge basically means is the moment you play the card right there. Charge can attack the turn it's played, because usually when you drop a card, it cannot be used on that turn unless it has charge. If it has charge, you can attack immediately. So this is a pretty good card. So it's a 4-cost card, so it can't play it during the first round like you can with the Nord Barbarian, which is actually a 0-point cost, but it's only a 1/1. So in the very first round for 0, you can get a single point of direct damage right in. But if you can wait a few turns for your Magicka to build up with this card, you could drop it and immediately Pilfer, and the effect's actually pretty nice. You gain 2 Magicka. That's just pretty damn nice. It allows you to play more powerful cards sooner. A Thieves' Den here. This is an ongoing support card. So just one of those things like in the corner icon. And basically it gives friendly creatures Pilfer 1/1. Pretty devastating card when you think about it. All your friendly creatures get that. Unless the actual support card is destroyed, any new creatures you summon will get it. Any existing creatures you have will get it. Very powerful. And this is an interesting one. It's Pilfer 1/1, and if you manage to actually Pilfer, you can attack for an additional turn. Now, I'm not sure if this is separate from the Pilfer. If it's tied to the Pilfer, then that means you could keep attacking continuously until your opponent finds some way of blocking, typically using a guard card. Because if a card with the guard keyword is in play, you have to attack the guard. You can't do direct damage if there's a guard on the field. Alright, so let's see. So here's Charge, for example. And there's Drain, which we talked about. So you can see, like, with Charge, the second that I pay the mana cost to get this, I can immediately put it onto the field and immediately use it in an attack. Lethal is very interesting. Basically what lethal means is, doesn't matter what the defense of your target is, because the way it normally works is, when you attack an enemy creature, you deal that, like for example, let's use this guy versus this guy as just a random example. We'll ignore all the special effects for the moment. If he attacks him, he deals 1 damage to the health. That goes red, goes down to 5. But in retaliation, he deals 6 damage. He's destroyed. Now, some of these actually will have like 0 health. A lot of guards will have 0 health, but will have 0 attack but high health. If you were to take a Territorial Viper, which has lethal, and just for the moment we'll say that this guy has 0 health, just for our example, 0 attack. Even though he has 6 health, and theoretically he shouldn't be able to one-shot him, because he has lethal, by attacking him, he immediately dies. He just dies. Doesn't matter what his health is. That's what lethal is. Doesn't matter what their health is, they immediately die. But lethal cards typically have low attack. Most lethal cards I've seen tend to have 1 attack. So they're designed for a one-shot. But you can, of course, try and find ways to buff them. Summon is pretty simple. The second you play the card, that effect goes into play. That's a pretty nice one, Nest of Vipers. But you can see the cost is 10. That's pretty expensive. So let me show you. So here's several lethal cards. And if you get lethal on a guard, it's devastating because no one wants to attack that guard, because they know if they attack that guard, no matter how low the guard's attack is, even if it's 0, they will die. So like for example, Fighters Guild Recruit. So we talked about how prophecy works. Like you take rune damage, you get a prophecy card. If this one manages to be the card, so you can immediately put down a lethal guard. Of course, his defense is only 2, his attack's only 1, but that doesn't matter. His attack could be 0. With lethal, you attack him, he attacks you, you're dead. Now granted, whatever their attack damage is, it'll be applied here. But yeah, it can be pretty devastating. This one depends on what is the next card in your stack. So, you just summon him, he's a normal card. If you happen to have one of these green cards at the top of your deck, he'll get a bonus. Well, he'll get lethal and +1/+1. This one is kind of a support card, or you can give any creature lethal. So if you were to have this in like a guard with 0 attack, like the old Veteran guard, which is 0 and 5 with regenerate, meaning that unless you deal 5 damage to him in a single turn, and of course you can always buff them, then any attack done to him will immediately cost your character their life. Now, of course, he can't attack because he has 0 attack, but if you give him some card that gives him +1 to his attack, he can be a pretty indiscriminate destroyer. The thing you just have to be careful with is making sure that his health doesn't hit 0, it doesn't go too low, because regenerate applies when your next turn comes up. So when a card is damaged, so like for example, let's say this card had regenerate, and I attacked 2 people and I got my health down to 1. It would stay 1 through the opponent's turn, and would only come back up to 3 on my next turn. Here are some examples of guards. This one has an interesting summon effect. No. This is a guy I was thinking of, Old Gate Warden. So he's got guard and regenerate. Can't attack anything, but has 5 defense. So unless that 5 defense is breached, when your next turn comes up, he's back up to full health. And if let's say, I know it's kind of redundant because he already has regenerate, but let's say you threw this onto him, or like the Imperial Armor, which is +6, or any other number of things you can think of, then he'd be a pretty powerful Guardian. Of course, a lot of these things will rely on you buffing them with other cards, and there's a way to get around that. Silence. Silence will take away all buffs, including guard, all keywords basically, removes all keywords from a target creature. And then you have this, the Keeper Whispers. Other friendly creatures cannot be silenced. Very powerful card to have in your deck. Here's some other ones. This one is a bow that gives silence. Now here are some very interesting cards here. As you see, I've got a couple of them. But I think they're already in my deck here. Do I have the Mentor's Ring? I don't think I have the Mentor's Ring. See, I've got the Royal Sage. You can only have a maximum of 3 of any card in your deck, by the way. Yeah, I don't have the Mentor's Ring. I don't know why it's showing 0 there. That's weird.